Yep, we're ready.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Tabuns. I'm the Ontario NDP critic for climate and energy. This morning, I'm joined by high school student from my riding, Yulia Ospey, who will be talking to her concerns about climate change, and Emma Lim from Climate Strike Canada, who will be available to answer questions about how students are taking on this issue across the country. I'm also joined by my colleague Ian Arthur, who's the Ontario NDP's environment critic. Next week, I'll be introducing a motion calling on the Ford government to strike a select committee on climate change with representation from all parties. The committee would be tasked with immediately developing comprehensive provincial strategies to reduce emissions and an action plan to address climate change-related threats to Ontario's environment, society, and economy. More and more, Ontario families are going to find themselves in situations where they're forced to flee on a moment's notice if we don't act now to dramatically reduce carbon emissions. Each flood, tornado, and wildfire that ravages our province adds to the growing imperative for Ontario's leaders to come together in common cause in the fight against climate change. Our best hope of keeping people, homes, and businesses safe in Ontario is to stop climate change from accelerating. Andrea Horwath and the NDP will continue to call on the Ford government to do the right thing and work collaboratively with all parties to fight climate change. Nothing less than a livable future in our province hangs in the balance, and we won't give up on the fight for meaningful action in the face of one of humankind's greatest challenges. And with that, I turn it over to Yulia Ospey. Yulia?
My name is Yulia. I'm in the 10th grade and I will be voting in the next provincial election. It is so important for me to speak about climate change because I want to be a part of saving, not ignoring, the future of our beautiful planet. So why am I so concerned about climate change? Now, how can I possibly answer this question when there are so many things that are affected by it? Animal extinction, habitat destruction, food, clean air and water, deforestation, flooding, wildfires, pollution, dying oceans. Really, it's everything. As a 16-year-old, shouldn't I be focusing on university, planning my career, and thinking about who I want to become? Well, truthfully, I'm not. That all feels irrelevant because I am so terrified of what, or if anything, is going to be left of our planet and if my generation even has a future. Now, I've always dreamed of having kids when I grow up and giving them the same experiences my parents have given me, exploring, understanding, and appreciating our natural world. I don't have those dreams anymore. I don't, and that's devastating. And it's not just me. I asked my peers what their main concern with climate change is, and the predominant answer I got was, I don't want to have children if this is what our future will be. And it's not that we don't want to have kids, it's that we don't want them to experience what our world will be like. It's our fear of a world where growing food and living safely is not a sure thing, where you can't even swim or fish in the ocean because it's so polluted, and where natural disasters and extreme weather are everyday events. This is the burden that has been dumped onto my generation. How can we possibly still dream of having kids? The Ford government cannot keep pushing climate change aside. It must become the top priority for everyone. The Conservative government needs to start treating the issue for what it is, a crisis. It is time they start fighting climate change with full force, as this is not a fight we can afford to lose. They need to change their ways, as we can only do so much without the leadership of the provincial government. It is time to truly take care of our earth, to restore what has been destroyed, and to give hope for the future, to make sure that my generation actually has a future. Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia. Emma, I hate to put you on the spot, but could you speak to why it's necessary for us to have a committee, all-party committee on this issue? And could you tell people about the upcoming climate strike in Canada that students should be aware of?
It's important for us to address the climate crisis because Ford's Made in Ontario climate plan falls completely short of what needs to be done. It does not line up with the science. Climate change is the greatest existential threat that we're facing, and Premier Ford is treating it like it's not even worth addressing. Tomorrow, students all over Canada will be striking for the climate. We're calling on our provincial leaders to adequately address the issues we face. Premier Ford's Made in Ontario plan has an Ontario Carbon Trust, which will see about $400 million given out to companies in return for almost nothing. Ford is spending more time and efforts fighting the federal carbon tax than he is addressing climate change. Every time Doug Ford refuses to address the issues, he is slapping my generation in the face. Thanks.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Yulia. I don't see any questions. Thank you all for being here today. And that's the end of the press conference.